Welcome to 843 TV. I'm your host, Wayne Morris with WHHI TV.
And I'm your host, Carrie Manning from the Village Spa.
And today we're coming to you from Spring Island. It's a special episode. It's all Spring Island, which we love to do. And we're coming to you from Waterfall Farm, which is right in the heart of Spring Island. And that brings us to our first guest, Susan Stewart. She's going to be telling us about all the clubs she's involved with.
And then our second guest is Mr. John Strothers. He is the broker in charge here on Spring Island. So make sure that you stay tuned for more 843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
843 TV, where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Spring Island comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Port Royal comes to speak.
.843 TV,
where communities come to speak.
Welcome to 843 TV. We're here today with Miss Susan Stewart. She's a member out here on the beautiful Spring Island. Thank you for being with us. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me this morning.
So we have all kinds of fun things to talk about, but let's start with, how long have you guys lived here on Spring Island, and how did you find out about this? Because it's kind of a hidden gem.
It is a hidden gem. We became members in 2007, and I'd been working for a financial services firm in New York, Morgan Stanley, and all these managing directors kept retiring to this place called Spring Island, and I just knew I needed to find out about it more. Bob Greenhill bought Pine Island. Mark Hawley ran our Managed Futures program. He was here. Bill McMahon came from Fixed Income, and I just thought, there's got to be something there.
They know something you don't.
Right. I need to know about Spring Island. And going along at the same time, I'm a huge fan of Pat Conroy. Prince of Tides is my favorite book of all times. And when I read it, I knew I needed to be in the low country.
What better to live here?
Yeah. So we looked all around, and I really thought we'd be at Bray's. And we looked all out St. Helena. We looked all over Ladies Island, thinking deep water, golf course. And we came to Spring Island on a Thursday night, which was a trust talk. And every member came over and introduced themselves to us, talked about Spring Island, and I just knew we'd found our home.
It's a very friendly, inviting place.
It is.
There is an intense sense of community here, and I think that's kind of what sets it apart from everywhere else.
I love my 350-person small town. I love it.
When you were a part of a lot of groups, we were talking earlier, tell us about all the groups and efforts that you're a part of here in Spring Island.
So volunteerism is very important to our community, and I'm a golfer, so I did make it onto the golf committee and, help head up the golf committee at this point. We did a big renovation on the River House this year, and I'm co-chairman of the River House committee. And then my very special project that I hope we get to talk about later, we started a chicken house earlier this fall. And there's something to do every single minute, but those are the main projects that I've been involved in.
The golf course, Old Tabby Links, is ranked pretty highly, and can you talk a little bit about that and how it got that ranking? And didn't we do a renovation here about two years ago?
That's right.
So they built the golf course about 20 years ago, and Arnold Palmer is the architect, and it had just gotten a little smooth around the edges, and in 2011, 2012, they felt like we needed to raise some money and do a refresh. They didn't want to make it longer. They didn't want to make it harder. They just wanted to make it less resorty and to let the golf course show off its natural beauty. Obviously, the investment paid off very well. Before we did the refresh, we were ranked 167th in worldwide modern golf courses. And after the refresh, we're now 84th. So the people that rate our golf course, rank our golf course, certainly think that it was money well invested.
Yeah, it was.
What we did.
It's an amazing golf course. I love playing that thing, yeah.
The natural beauty, especially coming in the back, I mean, when you're seeing all the views of the water, I mean, it's second to none. And that's saying a lot, considering how many nice golf courses there are around here.
No, and because we are such a green community, and you don't want a golf course to spoil the natural beauty. But if you look at the 16th green, we had to take down some vegetation, but it's like it's an infinity green that just goes totally out into the Port Royal Sound. And it is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. So we mentioned the clubs and groups that you're involved in. You also have some inter-club agreements with some clubs around the state. How does that work?
So there is a Low Country Women's Golf Association that we are a member of, and we play all over the Low Country. We go to Hague Point, we go to Sun City. There are tons of golf courses in there. When you start in the Low Country Women's Association, you have to start in the bottom and earn your way out. So after 2 years, we finally won our 4th division, and we'll now start in the 3rd division. But we'll play against 9 clubs. We'll host once and play at their clubs throughout the season. And this is January, February, into mid-March. And it's a very competitive, very fun group. You get to meet women golfers from all over the Low Country and play, obviously, at some great golf courses.
That's awesome.
So we all know that everybody has a ton of fun out here. I don't think anybody is bored out here. There's plenty of things to do. But talking about fun activities and competition for casual and serious golfers, what is the Wine and Wedge?
Well, we think it should be called the Wedge and Wine because when we played, we thought we were going to be having wine while we wedged, but we had the wine after we wedged. But
it's probably a better...
Bill Sampson is our director of golf, and he has something for everybody. We have uber competitive events, and then we have fun events like the Wine and Wedge, where they take all 18 holes and play them from 100 yards and in. And, you know, you only need 3 clubs to do it. Well, that brings up a whole nother thing. We have a 3-club challenge where we play 18 holes with only 3 clubs in our bag from tee to green. We have a 4th of July Flag Day tournament. We have a Thanksgiving Day tournament. The Women's Golf Association is 88 women that have a very in-depth season. And we have a Carolina Cup where we compete against Yeamans Hall and go back and forth every year. So there really is something for everybody, for the thumpers, the beginning golfers.
That would be me.
And for our lowest handicaps that come in at 1 or 2 on their handicap. And people.
It makes sense because everybody that is living here was successful at some point in their life, and they were competitive, I'm sure, in business or art or whatever they were doing. So having this competitive outlet while you're still here is great.
Right. And with the type A behaviors, we do have to pull back and remind ourselves
this is fun.
that we can have fun on a Wine and Wedge.
Well, we want to hold you for one more segment if you have time.
Sure.
So we'll be right back with a second segment of 843 TV. Welcome back to 843 TV. We have the pleasure of being rejoined by Susan Stewart, a member here at Spring Island. And we were talking about the golf course and all that. And then we want to talk about something a little bit different. Are you the chicken lady? I hear that there's these chickens on Spring Island that you may be in charge of. What can you tell us about that?
Well, last spring we presented to the membership that we have chickens. And a lot of people thought we were just... had bird brains. They thought we were nuts. It did pass, and in October we had 36 one-day-old chicks arrive at the post office, and they stayed in my house until the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Whoa.
They outgrew their brooder and their coop, so they ended up in the back of our Ford pickup truck, which became known as the Ford Coupe.
That's nice.
But we have 7 different varieties: Barred Rocks, Silver Wyandottes, Buff Orpingtons, and they all have names. Mm-hmm. And we have eggs now from green all the way to white.
Wow.
And it really has just been so great. For Easter and holidays, everyone brings their grandchildren over, and they just love watching the chickens. Even some of our older residents take daily visits. People bring them treats, and it's become quite successful.
And I heard something I have to ask about, the female impersonator. What is that?
Well, I think sexing a one-day-old chick is probably a science unto itself. Uh-huh. So after about 12 weeks, there were 3 chickens that really stood out. And I was in denial that they weren't all what we thought they were, but when we heard them crowing on the golf course, we knew that we had some female impersonators. So Ruby became Rusty, and Christy became Chris, and we just didn't want to get into the business of raising baby chicks, so we had to find another home. But currently we're getting 24 eggs a day.
Oh, wow.
And the person who tends the flock for the week is called the chicken tender. We have 29 people that take care of the chickens, and they get a dozen for their work, and then they take some of the eggs to the restaurant, and they take the rest of the eggs to the fitness center for any of the members to just pick up out of the cooler there.
Wow.
You can't beat fresh eggs.
I was going to say, in this world of organic, it doesn't get much more farm to table than that.
No, we can't claim totally organic, but they are pampered chickens, and the yolks in the eggs are a bright orange, and you just know you're eating healthy.
Yeah, that's great.
They have a pretty fancy house too, don't they?
They have a wonderful coop. It's sometimes referred to as the Bitty Bungalow, sometimes the Peckingham Palace,
I think the Peckingham Palace is appropriate.
Palace Poulet, but we really call it the best little hen house on Spring Island.
I know. You're right. I love reading your weekly update.
The Chicken Chronicles
have
been a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
We wrote one last week. The chickens really thought that it was Chico de Mayo and not Cinco de Mayo, so they had their own celebration.
I know. I love them in the hats and everything. They're just beautiful. Well, speaking of birds, I know that Chris Marsh, he's the head of the trust, and he's an ornithologist, and we have a big bluebird program here. Are you a part of that?
I am a bluebird. I am one of the volunteers. We have 270 houses on Spring Island that 50 volunteers monitor over a 23-week period. And if you can believe it, it is so exciting. First of all, you have to notate what kind of nest. It could be titmouse, it could be chickadee, it could be a bluebird. So you learn something about what the birds are using as the materials for their nest. You'll look at one nest and it's got cigarette filters. It's got air conditioning filters. It's got green moss. They're beautiful. It's a beautiful construction. But anyway, you learn what bird builds what nest. And then you count the eggs, and then when they hatch, you count the hatches, and then you count the fledges. And we send all this information to Cornell. And there are a lot of us that are doing this, but we've increased our fledge rate on our bluebird population 12% over the last year.
That's a big jump in a year.
Yes, and we've added some predator protections on the bottom of the poles, and we've put the houses where they're, safer. But it is a fascinating program, and obviously well attended when you get 50 people to go out and look in birdhouses for 23 weeks.
I know, that's incredible. And y'all build the houses too,
yep,
don't you?
They build the houses, and they build the snake protection, and Al Gerber runs that program, and he really gets a lot of people to sign up for it.
I could do without the snake part, though. So let's talk about the garden in the background. Obviously, this is a huge space. People are working on the vegetables as we speak. How does this program work, and how do people in the community take care of this program?
So we are here at Waterfall Farm, and it's a 4-acre farm, and it is planted twice a year. And it is totally tended by volunteers, which we lovingly refer to as the Tuesday Hoes. I think it's hilarious. So we have a summer crop that is planted now, and every variety of squash, every variety of tomato, corn, okra. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So we will pick vegetables, and they plant in succession, so it doesn't all come due at the same time. We will, the community will just come out, and as long as, we're 20 minutes away from a grocery store, but as long as you have your protein, everyone comes here to get their vegetables for dinner every night.
Yeah,
it really is amazing.
There's nothing better than picking your dinner.
And we'll have excess, so we give that to neighborhood churches. We give it to a food bank in Bluffton, and we take it to our restaurants also. So on the menu, you'll see, eggplant from Waterfall Farm on our menu.
Oh, your fresh veggies.
So it's been 12 years getting to where we are now, but it's a very, very successful program.
Oh, I think that's wonderful.
And it's funny because you're involved in so many things, and a lot of people here are in a lot of different clubs and groups, and I think that kind of speaks to the the personal connections that are made here. And you're going on a big vacation with a group of friends, right? Where y'all going?
We're going Viking in Sicily.
Wow.
So there are 8 of us that are going to meet in Rome and truck down to Sicily and ride across the island for a week.
That's awesome.
But there are a lot of members that will see each other off season, visit each other in their homes away from Spring Island, and it is a wonderful close-knit community.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing some information with us. We got a lot of information. You're doing a lot of things here, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much.
And stay with us. We'll be back with more 843 TV.
Welcome back to 843 TV. We're here now with Mr. John Strother. He is the broker in charge here at Spring Island Realty. Thank you for being with us again.
My pleasure, always.
So we always have something super fancy to talk about, but the community highlight before we start talking about the beautiful property here are the results of the Trust House. Last episode you shared a really interesting story about an island philanthropist and his donation to the Spring Island Trust. So tell everybody a little bit about that and what happened. How did that pan out?
Well, this is a really fantastic story. Mr. Joe Williams, who was the first president of the trust, donated a home to the trust. He had lived here for 20 years. He ran a big corporation from here, and he just loved Spring Island and the mission.
That's very generous.
It is, and he just said, well, here you go. And so we gave everybody about 2 weeks to look at the home and give us some bids, and we sold it for over $1 million over the listing price. We had 6 people that bid on it, and of those 6 people, 3 people bought, maybe not bought that, but they bought other properties here in Spring Island. So it was just a great exercise.
Success on more than one level, then, obviously.
It was just a tremendous success, and for him to do that, what a great guy to just to do that.
Yeah.
You know, just out of his just sheer love of Spring Island. I have never seen a place or been in contact with so many people that feel so passionately about where they live.
It's like a part of the family in some ways.
Well, it is. These just strong bonds are made, and it is. It's a big family.
We're coming up on 25 years, right? The 25th anniversary. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we just had that celebration. We just finished out redecorating and renovating the River House, which is our dining venue. So we had, generations, as many as 4 generations here, and the place was packed. Couldn't get in to eat in the River House,
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I know. The response was great, and there were just people everywhere.
Well, it's just such a good time to move to Spring Island now, because it is kind of like, I'm not going to say it's built out, but the amenities are kind of built out. There's so many things now over the 25-year span. They've kind of figured out what works and what doesn't work. So everything here is kind of perfect.
Well, it is, and the strange thing is like I've done most of my career here in this area starting out places. Mm-hmm. So you start out with this beautiful place, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so beautiful," and then to make room for the houses, all the beauty goes away.
Yes.
But here. I was talking to Mark Mooney. He did our video for us on our website. You go there's a beautiful video, and he's been in the Hilton Head area for 30 years. He did the first video here. He stayed here for 10 days. Mm-hmm. And so I was saying, well, do you need a map on where to go? And he said, no, I know exactly where to go. I was here for 10 days 25 years ago. This place has hardly changed at all.
Yeah.
And that's, you know what you're getting. And
it's been done correctly if 25 years later they still know where everything is.
And that's kind of an extension of Fraser's dream in Hilton Head. Hilton Head's right down the road.
Yes.
It's kind of an extension of that almost, the same kind of philosophy.
It is because Jim Chapin started with Charles Fraser, and just great visionary, both of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of something that's been preserved, being a part or becoming a part of Spring Island, our home site feature is Lot 12 on 12 Fox Squirrel Court. Tell everybody about that home site.
This is 6 acres and it has 800 feet on the marsh. Now, to put that in perspective, most marsh front lots in this area have maybe 100 feet. So this has 800 feet.
Whoa.
you know, that's
Almost
almost a
panoramic.
quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
So, and the lot is faced like this with a tidal creek coming up the center. So you could build a house looking at the sunset, looking at the sunrise, a wing coming over this tidal creek with, you know, oaks going down into the marsh, you know, as the tide comes in, you know, these beautiful scenes, palmetto trees, oak trees everywhere. It's just an amazing compound that somebody can create something really incredible there.
That sounds like a truly rare opportunity to be able to have all that mixed into one property.
It is. It's over 6 acres, and it's long, so you can have this just beautiful long house. And it's $795. It's a great buy, and you know, it's.
Well, and that's the thing about marsh views and water views. There's only so many of them.
I know, and we have
Anywhere.
such great. Yeah, we have such great marsh here too. Half the marshes in South Carolina are here in Beaufort County.
Wow.
And,
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize that. Well, I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense though.
Moving away from the home site to the home feature,
Uh-huh.
tell us about that. It's at 4 Walker House Drive.
Oh, 4 Walker House Drive. Now this is a really neat piece of property. It's on the other side of the island from the Fox Squirrel. It's facing the sunsets. And it's one of the first houses here, and it's where Jim Chafin housed his guests that would come over here. They'd come over on the barge,
Wow.
they'd go there.
Yeah.
And so it has 4 master suites in it, a kitchen. It's a real nice thing. And the people who bought it added another wing to it, which is a master suite and all this. And it's all connected by this breezeway with nothing but windows out on the marsh. And this house would be perfect for a large family or 2 families to own. It's 5 bedrooms, 5,000 square feet, marsh front, big oyster pit out there for oyster roast. Just walk over to the shrimp pond to go fishing in the shrimp pond, or walk over to the post office, the river house, the fitness center. It's an amazing piece of property. It's a little older, but I mean, it has character and has held the test of time. It's 5,000 square feet, and it's only $1,349. $1,349,000.
Just to clarify that.
Just there's a dot in there.
Well, that sounds really cool. I like having the access, you know, walking distance to some of those awesome amenities that you all have here.
Yeah, it's perfect for second home or vacation, or just living every day.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We've enjoyed another beautiful setting here in Spring Island, and love hearing about the real estate that's available.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching 843 TV.
Where communities come to speak.